legend of Kuchisake Onna, also known as a slit-matted woman, is known to anyone familiar with Japanese urban legends. The legend revolves around a beautiful woman who fell victim to her jealous husband's suspicions of infidelity. In a fit of rage, he sliced her lips open from ear to ear with a sharp blade. Kuchisake Onna now appears in the form of a supposedly lovely lady wandering the streets at night. She hides her face behind a mask and wields a pair of scissors. If you were to ever encounter her, she will inquire if you find her attractive with a simple question. Watashi kirei? Am I beautiful? If you refuse, she will murder you with her scissors right away. If you answer yes, she will remove her mask, revealing a gaping mouth with a haunting smile. Then she'll ask again. If you answer no, you'll die. If you reply yes, she'll cut your mouth like hers. One can survive such an encounter by calmly remarking that she appears average or mediocre. Ma bochi bochi or so-so. That'll confuse the vengeful spirit and give you the opportunity to escape her. La Malahora is a ghost you don't want to encounter on a dark path. According to folklore, it begins as a black energy ball that constantly moves and changes its size and form. The most common appearance is that of a beautiful woman, sometimes dressed in white and other times in black. It is believed that La Malahora is kinder and more elegant when dressed in white. She hypnotizes weary travelers into following her into whatever danger she chooses. Whether it's on the edge of a hill or right in front of the next passing automobile. La Malahora appears more violent when dressed in black. She will use any means necessary to slow or stop a traveler and directly attack them with her sharp nails. If you encounter her at a crossroad, it is said that you or someone in your family is likely to perish. To protect oneself from La Malahora, folklore suggests carrying religious symbols such as crosses or holy water, reciting prayers, or avoiding specific paths or locations known to be haunted by her presence. The Red Room Curse is a web-based narrative that has haunted many people. It is believed to have originated from an obscure corner of the internet, possibly on a deep web forum or an encrypted website in the early days of the online world. The legend begins with a threatening pop-up that haunts those who encounter it. Accompanied by a spine-chilling pre-recorded voice, the pop-up poses a haunting question. Do you like the Red Room? The most unsettling aspect is that the pop-up persists, appearing repeatedly until the voice finishes its inquiry, regardless of how many times the user attempts to close it. This relentless nature intensifies the psychological torment experienced by those who encounter it, leaving an indelible mark on their minds. Once the voice completes its inquiry, the entire screen transforms into a deep crimson, filling with the names of previous victims. These names rapidly fill the screen, creating a disorienting and disturbing visual effect. Whether these names belong to real victims or are simply part of the legend remains unknown. The fate of those who receive the Red Room pop-up is shrouded in mystery. They are always found dead, their lifeless bodies discovered in a room stained with their own blood, creating the eponymous Red Room. The circumstances surrounding their deaths are inexplicable, as no evidence or clues are left behind. Teki Teki is claimed to be the spirit of Chizo, a young schoolgirl. Upon being harassed by her classmates, she had leaped onto a railway track where she was severed in half by an approaching train. Despite her injury, she crawled towards someone for help after narrowly surviving the accident. Yet she was abandoned and left to die when they saw her condition. As the legend goes, Teki Teki is now seen at night in cities and train stations. Because she no longer has legs, she drags herself using her hands and elbows, making a terrifying Teki Teki sound. If you encounter Teki Teki, She will chase you down with a scythe. In other versions of the legend, it is believed that the ghost may also ask a question to her potential victims. She will inquire about the whereabouts of her missing legs, and the only correct response to survive the encounter is to answer, Meishin Expressway. New Orleans, in the early 1930s, a young woman escaped with slashed scars on her wrist from the Carter brothers' residence. She informed the police that the brothers John and Wayne Carter were feasting on her blood. The officers, shocked by her account, raided the French Quarter apartment, where they discovered other young women in similar situations, as well as over a dozen dead bodies that had been drained of blood. It became clear that the Carter brothers had been abducting and savagely consuming the blood of their victims. The authorities patiently awaited the brothers' return from work, determined to bring an end to their reign of terror. When John and Wayne finally arrived, it took all 8 officers to subdue and imprison them. Their inhuman strength unsettled those who witnessed it. The public, believing the brothers to be vampires, demanded swift justice, resulting in the execution of the 2 brothers. Their remains were laid to rest in a heavily fortified vaulted tomb, buried deep within the heart of New Orleans. However, years later, to the dismay and horror of those who discovered it, the crypts were found empty. According to the legends, it was believed that if a vampire consumed your blood for 7 consecutive nights, you would turn into a vampire yourself. Whispers circulated of one of the brothers' victims. It was said that she went on a bloody rampage, claiming the lives of over 32 people and indulging in their blood as well. The Carter brothers are still feared in New Orleans, where numerous individuals have reported seeing them around the French Quarter. Even the new owner of the apartment building where the Carters used to live said he saw the 2 men chatting on a 3rd-floor balcony, and when they realized they had been seen, they jumped from the balcony to the street below and vanished into the night. David Wolpert's residence was located along this route. It is said that he went insane within his iron walls and slaughtered his family by setting fire to their home, leaving behind only their iron gate. Many witnesses have reported creepy incidents. Some reported seeing the ghost of a woman through the rearview mirror, seemingly searching for her children. A jogger who was hit by a car is said to chase or hit your car, and people on foot are said to hear loud heartbeats and even footsteps. There are also several sightings of ghosts of slaves hanging from trees during a full moon, or hitchhiker ghosts in need of a ride, as well as the blood-red handprints of the ghost of a young boy who died in a car accident can be seen on the street signs across this road. This incident occurred in Beijing on the 14th of November 1995 at 12 a.m. Bus 375, the last bus of the night, left the Yuan Mingyuan bus terminal for its final destination of Xiangshan. On board were the driver, a female conductor, an elderly lady, and a young man. After a while, the driver noticed 2 shadows waving at the bus from the roadside. When the driver stopped, 2 passengers boarded, with a 3rd man being supported by his shoulders. The man in the middle was unkempt and had his head bowed so no one could see his face. They had deadly pale features and were dressed in traditional Chinese robes from the Qing dynasty. The elderly lady kept turning around and peering at the 3 strangers in the rear row of the bus. She then suddenly started a quarrel with the young man traveling alone, accusing him of stealing her wallet. She started pushing him to get off with her at the next stop so she can report it to the police. Once they got off the bus, she informed the young man that the fight was a ruse to get them off the bus since the 3 strange men on the bus hadn't been touching the ground. They were literally floating in the air. The next morning, it was discovered that the bus had not completed its journey. The authorities searched the entire city and eventually found it 2 days later. Inside the bus, they discovered 3 horribly decayed bodies: the bus driver, the female conductor, and an unidentified man. Furthermore, the remains were extremely decomposed for individuals who had died 2 days earlier. And the police never found any camera footage showing the bus ever approaching the location where it was found. The Gore Orphanage legend begins with a married couple named Johann and Katharina Sprunger. After the first orphanage, the Light of Hope Orphanage, burned down, killing 3 orphan girls, they established the Gore Institution. The orphanage had over 100 boys and girls living there. However, rumors of darkness and sorrow soon spread throughout the old establishment. Scandalous claims of abuse, neglect, and slave labor began to emerge. Miss Sprunger ordered the children to eat cows' heads and lungs or starve, and Mr. Sprunger beat the children with a leather strap, leaving them covered in bleeding welts and bruises. He also used the children as slave labor for nearby farms. The orphanage caught fire exactly 20 years later, trapping the children and their terrifying cries and screams within. Since that night, strange phantom beings have been observed wandering around. If you visit late at night, you can still hear children weeping and calling for help, and even the air is filled with the smell of scorching fire and decaying bodies. A ghostly young boy is even said to be swinging calmly back and forth on an old tire swing suspended from a nearby tree. According to the legend, a bus driver from the county hospital was assigned to transport 20 mentally ill people to the state insane institution. However, he became thirsty on the way and decided to stop at a pub for a few drinks. When he returned to the bus, he was surprised to see that it was empty. The mentally ill individuals had managed to break free and had all escaped. Fearful of losing his job, the bus driver devised a plan. He took the bus to the first bus stop he came across and opened the doors to let everyone on board. He then drove them to the lunatic institution, where he informed the attendants that these individuals were very dangerous and required restraint. It took months for the asylum personnel to realize their mistake, but by that time many of the patients had already gone mad, while the true patients remained missing. Years ago, there were 3 high school girls who planned a sleepover party and decided to rent a horror movie for the night. As all local rental stores were closed, they decided to enter a small shop on the side of the street. The woman behind the counter went to the back room after being asked for a horror movie recommendation. While waiting, one of the girls spotted a filthy and soiled old VHS tape on the counter. She reached out to grab it, but the woman quickly pulled it aside, replying strangely that it wasn't something they should be watching. However, one of the girls managed to snatch the tape and slip it into her purse while the woman had her back turned. Later that night, the girl decided to watch the tape. The video started with static crackling. They soon saw a woman chained to a wooden stake surrounded by enraged men and women wielding blazing torches. The crowd screamed at her, saying things like "Burn, you witch," and "This is your punishment for practicing black magic," while setting fire to the wood beneath her feet. The woman began giggling maniacally as the flames grew higher. She shrieked a curse, vowing that anyone who witnessed her death would face the same fate in 2 days. Fearful, the girls decided to return the tape, only to discover that the store had vanished, replaced with an abandoned building. 2 days later, all 3 girls were found dead, burned to death. During a search of their homes, the police discovered a burned garbage can containing the old video recording, which was still intact and unharmed by the fire.